Well, I think we're live. Jonathan, are we live?
It looks like it. We're good.
All righty. Well, some people have a high-powered marketing guy do like a real smooth intro and stuff. Maybe we ought to get ourselves one of them.
Maybe.
Maybe so. Okay. Well, are you ready to start this thing?
I've been looking forward to it. Let's get started.
Okay. Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to this webinar entitled Visualize and Optimize Your End-to-End Value Stream with ConnectALL 2.10. I'm Andrew Fuqua. I am the product manager here at ConnectALL. I'm here with my friend and colleague, Jonathan McGowan from our wonderful solutions team. Jonathan, say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
So I'm going to briefly introduce this topic to you, and then Jonathan's going to give a demo. He's going to highlight some of the cool new features that we have in 2.10 and in the demo. And so we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. If you have questions during the session, please type them into the question box. Take this moment and figure out BrightTalk, find the question box and figure out how to type a question in the control panel there. And we'll bring them up either through the presentation or at the end. We might run out of time, but we'll try to answer as many as I feel brave enough to answer live in a webinar, I guess. Would you look at the time? So also, I'd like to encourage you to share today's webinar with your social networks and teams. It's going to be, it is recorded, being recorded, and you'll get an email. And my intent is to give you something that you can take away, something of value, not just a product demo, but something useful about lean or agile. And I hope that you'll share that with your social networks and your team. So on to the webinar. And of course, I can't chew gum and share screen at the same time. So I have to talk about sharing screen in order to share screen. And so here it comes. Got just a couple of slides to introduce the concept. And so ConnectALL, let me start by saying our mission is to help companies achieve higher levels of velocity, predictability, and product quality. That's our mission statement. And I've subscribed to that ever since '96 when I got on this mission in my career to help people along those lines. And I know our CEO subscribes to that and others in the company. That's our mission. So one way we do this is by helping you visualize and optimize your end-to-end value stream, the title of this webinar. So beyond helping companies connect tools, we help you visualize your value stream and measure your end-to-end flow. And you're going to see the new visualization available in version 2.10 in the demo in a few minutes. And Insights, the analytics and reporting part of our platform, that's plenty of stuff there to demo on another day, or maybe time permitting, Jonathan can show a glimpse of that. But integration is a necessary first step. So we help you integrate all the tools in your software delivery ecosystem, no matter what tool any of your teams are using. And there's a lot of them. In fact, there's been an explosion of tools, so to speak. But ConnectALL can handle this. Not only does ConnectALL have dozens of adapters coded up for specific applications, our vendor-based tools, but we also have our patent-pending universal adapter. The universal adapter allows you to connect to anything. It can connect to anything that has a REST interface. Yeah, it can connect to tools that can push into a REST interface, but we can receive and process it. But our universal adapter can do more than just play catch with webhooks. We can do bidirectional syncing to applications, even ones that we have not built an adapter for. We can do bidirectional syncing to your own in-house custom apps, your bespoke apps. We can trigger events, orchestration stuff, triggering events in other systems. We can restrict flow based on rules. We work in conjunction with the rules already in place, but you already have rules in place in many of your systems, but there's places where companies need rules between tools, and ConnectALL fills in those gaps as well. Same goes for routing items to the next step according to business rules or conditions that need to be met. And we can synchronize database records into and out of a database as well. And so we gather data for analytics using all those capabilities. So what companies that I talked to back in my prior jobs when I was in consulting, they wanted they were needing help, always wanting to increase time to market, time to value, and profitability. To do that, you can reduce waste, like you can reduce spending on features that don't add value, and you can improve lead time. The best and easiest ways to reduce lead time are to automate, or to eliminate delay, and to have smaller batches of work. By smaller batches of work, I mean smaller initiatives, smaller epics, smaller stories, smaller sprints, smaller releases, more frequent deployments. But in order to make improvements, you need data. If you don't have data, you're just guessing. You need data for a couple of reasons. You need data to help you identify the waste and delay in your system. And you need data to give you feedback. You need data to know if any change you make actually improves anything. Many changes have unintended consequences, and many changes feel good but don't help improve flow. So your analytics should show the trend. If the trend doesn't improve after change, you need to know that. You might need to back out that change to your process or your org or your tooling or what have you. This is the whole Deming cycle, which he called the Schuhart cycle, the plan, do, study, act loop. That's the only way to learn. The only way to ensure that you're actually improving anything is to use the analytics that you have at your disposal. The easiest way to tackle this is to, or an important thing that you need to do is to model your wait states, your delays, your queues. So add those to your Scrum board, add those to your Kanban. You'll need to have that data in your metrics. That's the data that allows you to know whether the improvement you made has actually shrunken that queue state, that delay, that wait time, or has reduced your lead time. And so back to kind of stepping out of that back into the rest of the webinar. And now in version 2.10 of ConnectALL, we can map the entire value stream so that you can see it. And so all of this allows you to have a best of breed tooling strategy, and yet still have people collaborate across tools in their own tool of choice. So because of the way we synchronize, if we remove barriers. In Jonathan's demo, you're going to see how this new 2.10 version of ConnectALL takes that visualization to the next level. You'll see an end-to-end integration, planning, dev, test, deployment, monitoring. He'll show you our universal adapter, database adapter, and time permitting, maybe even some insights or analytics. So with that, without further ado, I'll say here's Jonathan.
All right, thank you very much, Andrew. So to kind of tee this up a little bit, what I'm going to do is we're going to take on the persona of a company that's rolling out a new app. Okay, so we've got maybe a local coffee house that wants people to order ahead. Okay, so they're developing a new application, and that application, they're taking in ideas, they're figuring out ways that they can improve that application, ways that they can take advanced orders, and they've got customers who are involved in that process. They want to build the right app for their customer. And so what we're going to see is I'm going to show you an entire end-to-end value stream. I'm going to show the actual map of that. But since we won't have time to integrate all of those different pieces or actually show the integration between all those pieces, I will drill down into just one specific step. What I'll start with is I'll actually edit some of the code that we've got. And then you'll see me edit that within GitHub. And then we've got Sonar on the other side of that. That's going to be scanning our GitHub code for these changes. Sonar is looking for vulnerabilities and hotspots within our code. And then it's going to find those vulnerabilities and report those back to Jira. Then I'll take a step back, and while we wait for Sonar to scan all that, and I'll walk you through the actual value stream and kind of explain the entire map as we go along there. And then we'll get into how we set things like that up. So a lot of stuff to cover. So let's go ahead and without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into it.
Great.
So like you, I can't chew gum and talk at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right here. Oh, my share button is, there we go. I've got it now. Perfect. Here we go. My apologies for that. All right. So as I said, I'm going to go ahead and come over here to GitHub, and this is where I'm going to start. I'm going to go ahead and make a code change here because we're working away at our app, and like I said, we want to make sure that we get the best app that we can for our customers. So we're going to go ahead and come in, and we're going to say start the coffee maker. Right? We've got this new piece of code here that's going to be getting our coffee. That's going to be submitting our order, and we just made a change in there, maybe just for some logging or something like that. So now we've got that new change. So now while we wait for that to happen, like I said, Sonar is in the background and is going to be scanning this code, looking for vulnerabilities and hotspots, and then we'll see that synchronize over to Jira. But while we're waiting on that to happen, I'm going to come over here to ConnectALL. So if you look at this, if you're familiar with ConnectALL, this looks a lot different than what you may have been used to in the past. This is our new homepage. This is our visualizer. And on this visualizer, here, I'll make it just a little bit bigger. On this visualizer, you can actually see the entire end-to-end process. So we can actually see from our ideation all the way through the development process and into monitoring and reporting. Now, there are lots of lines here, but that's on purpose because each of these integrations, as we set up each of these integrations, it automatically creates these nodes on this diagram. This isn't just something that we put together in Visio or PowerPoint and copied and pasted it on here into ConnectALL. These are actual live representations of your active integrations. And so so that's important because what that means is that on this dashboard, we'll actually get a live view as what's going on. We'll actually see lines flash whenever something is updated or something is created or there's an error somewhere. We'll actually see these particular lines flash rather than just relying on the previous activity monitor. So what we'll see here is I'll kind of walk you through this a little bit. Again, kind of taking the coffee shop idea, building their new app. We're taking in ideas into Salesforce. And those ideas are being, triaged and sent over to version 1. Then we've changed hats, and our product owner at version 1 says this would be a great addition to our app. Let's go ahead and make stories. And so they build out their stories from that. And then we go on to Jira, Jira will. Our developers are working in Jira. They're building out the bits and pieces on those user stories. They need to review their code in GitHub, identify any issues in GitHub, send those back to Jira. If you were paying attention, you saw the line flash there for Sonar. We got our code reviews in Sonar, sending stuff back to Jira. We can get involved in orchestration by triggering Jenkins builds from Jira. You can see those lines over here. We can bring in our testing with HP ALM down here, Micro Focus ALM. Sorry, some old habits die fast. And then we can even bring in our monitoring as well. You can see down here we've got any change requests, our operations team taking our new builds and generating pipelines in Circle CI. We've got monitoring with Zabbix plugged in here. Anything with our app that happens to go down can generate an incident service now. And then all of that can be dumped over here into a database for reporting. So that's a lot, and I went through that very fast, again, just kind of for the sake of time. But what I really want to underscore here is that, again, this is our entire start to finish value stream. We've got a mix of named adapters, our vendor-specific adapters, as Andrew said, and we've also got a mix of our universal adapters in here. And in a lot of cases, these universal adapters are working directly with the tools. For example, the sonar that I was just showing, we're not waiting for a webhook from sonar. We're actually, ConnectALL is polling sonar, interacting with sonar, looking for those changes in sonar. It's not waiting to listen to sonar. It's actually talking to sonar itself. So that's a really big, what I think kind of a game changer in this, is because, as Andrew said, we can even work with your in-house apps, anything that's got a REST API that lets us work with that kind of stuff. So all that being said, let's actually go take a look now. Again, we saw that blue line flash earlier, and that means that there has been a new bug found in Jira from our hotspot in Sonar. So if we come over here, let's look at the most recent one. We'll come and take a look at this. And sure enough, you can see that this was created just a minute ago whenever Sonar completed its scan, and then ConnectALL scanned Sonar. We can see that there was a new vulnerability found, or a new hotspot found, and we can even see some of the details on this as well. We can see some things like the, we can see the notes that came in here. We can see the line of code that needs to be changed. We can see the message that Sonar gave us. Make sure that environment variables are used safely here, okay? That's part of the hotspot that was actually logged. I can even see the exact file that was that had this issue. So lots of neat things that we can pull in here just by setting up this one particular integration. And now my developers don't have to go into Sonar to check these things. They can just work here in Jira, where they're logging, tracking their updates in Jira, and see these new vulnerabilities and hotspots appear right here in their backlog. All right, so with that, let's change gears just a little bit, and I want to walk through a little bit of the configuration, show you how we could set something like this up. So again, I used the universal adapter in this case, and you'll notice I've got, over here on the left, I've got Sonar, and over on the right, I've got Jira. And you'll notice that they look very similar, and that is the really key thing here, is that the universal adapter works exactly like our vendor-specific adapters. And so you can see here, it's the same setup process. It will look the same on the on both sides. So here you can see where I've connected to both systems. Nothing else to really say about that. Then we get into the entity mapping, where we can set the scope of our integration. You can see I've defined the exact project that I've got to work with in Sonar. You can see that the exact issue type that I'm working with in Sonar. This time I'm working with hotspots, but I could work with vulnerabilities or a few others as well. On the Jira side, you can see where I'm setting the project and issue type there. So kind of a one sentence way to describe this would be, look for security hotspots in my pipeline test, and create new bugs in my P-Done project in Jira. So that's kind of the one sentence description of this integration. We can apply governance. We can do we can add work item filters. Maybe you only want certain hotspots or high priority hotspots to show up. We can do that. We can add in filters for our work items. And then that allows you to really control the flow of data between these two applications. Same thing for all of our others. If we take a step back in the process and look at our stories going back and forth, maybe we only want certain stories to synchronize. Maybe only once they've been approved. So we could add in a filter that says only synchronize approved stories. And that again allows us to tailor ConnectALL to match our workflow that we've already got in place. All right, so then the last step here is that we can move on to our field mapping. And these fields, we can retrieve them from both sides. I can search these fields if I like to. You can see the search box up here at the top. So if I want to find the status quickly, all I have to do is type in status into each side and then map the status. And then you can see once I've mapped each of those fields, you can see that it appears down there at the bottom. You can see where I've got the different fields in Sonar mapping to the different fields in Jira. All right, and so that's pretty much it for the configuration and everything. You see it's pretty much the process. We establish our connection, we establish the scope, and then we establish our field mapping. And then ConnectALL runs automatically in the background, no interaction from the users. It just scans and does its thing. I'm going to take a step back here, and we'll talk about some of the metrics that Andrew was talking about. And let's actually pull some of this up. Now, this is a demo environment, so you know, the metrics will be a little spiky. But let's actually pull up one of these, and we'll take a look at some of these metrics. All right, I'm going to actually pull up this one right here, between our defects and our bugs, between Jira and Micro Focus ALM. So what's going to happen here is we actually want to know, me as an administrator, or me as somebody who's paying the bills here, I want to make sure that ConnectALL is actually worth it. I want to make sure that it's actually saving us the time that you know, the salespeople say that it is. If we actually look here, we can actually see the throughput that's going on here. And so if I actually expand this out, I'm going to expand it down to the 30 days. We can actually see the number of syncs that have happened over time. We can see the number of created transactions, and we can see the number of updated transactions. So here in this nice graph, again, sorry, this is demo data, so it is a little spiky, but you can see here that you know, ConnectALL did 39 creations on this day. And then it had so many updates as well. You know, if we total all this up, you know, it could be several hundred just within the last 30 days. Well, the important thing there is that that's several hundred times that ConnectALL actually synchronized the data between these systems and saved you several hundred times of having to walk into each tool and do that update yourself. So you don't have to log into ALM and Jira and copy that data yourself. You don't have to write an email and tell somebody, hey, import this data, or hey, here are the changes. You don't have to have a meeting for that. You know, those are all times that ConnectALL save you time. Even if it's just 5 seconds, you think 5 seconds times, you know, 200, that's 1,000 seconds, right? So here's where we can really measure that ConnectALL has saved us time. And we can look at this for each of our application links and actually see the total value there that we've actually saved. If we go to, sorry, our metrics button, click the wrong one there. Once it generates this metrics screen, I'll come back to that and we'll actually see the big picture there. All right, so I'm going to come over here into and kind of show some of the data warehouse stuff that Andrew was talking about. And let's go ahead and get over here into our BI tool. All right, so if you come over here and let me pull up our specific environment there, you can see that we've got some reports that we can make. If we're because as we were going along and as we're synchronizing all this data, we're also capturing each of these transactions within a data warehouse. And so what we've done is you can actually get all the different fields from Salesforce. You can define the exact fields you want to track in Salesforce and put those into a database. We can track each of those transactions anytime a state changes, anytime it moves from new to in progress, we can track that state change. And then we can run some analytics on top of it using your BI tool of choice. Here we're using Metabase, which is a free option, a free BI tool. But you can use Tableau, you can use Power BI, whatever BI tool you happen to be using. Then you can see here where we can get several lean metrics so that you can know really how effective your process is. You know, you can identify places where you might need to do some process changes, some tweaking, in order to make yourself more efficient along your value stream. So you can see up here a couple of reports that I've got. Support lead time. Again, this is just example data, but you can see that I've got a support lead time graph over here, and that's tracking how long it took for something to be resolved after it was created. So what was the total lifespan of my support tickets? Then you can see over here on the right where I've got support cycle time. So that's how long it took us to close an issue after it was worked on, after work began on it. So you compare those two things to really kind of identify, you know, how long are things stuck in our waiting state, and how long does it actually take the work to be done once it's started. So two importantly metrics for us to track there. You can then go down to the bottom, and you can actually even see where we have, since we're tracking things like state changes, you can see where we've got a graph down here that lets us see how often things were in each particular state. On any given day, how many things were open, how many things were ready for QA, how many things were waiting for a customer. We can track all that as well because we've got all that historical information in our data warehouse. We can even track something like a contributors report. We can grab the user ID from the assignee field and put that in a database across all your applications. So assignees in Salesforce, and assignees in version 1, and assignees in Jira, and assignees in ALM, and put all those into a database, and then run a report that says how often was Jonathan assigned to a specific issue across all of our applications. And then you get a nice graph there that says, Jonathan was assigned 100 times across our entire value stream. Jonathan either needs to do more work, or maybe we need to, hire somebody else to help him out. So we can get things like that to contributors report. It really, since we let you control that, control what flows into the database, really, it's kind of up to you what we take and put in that database, and then you can kind of get the reports that you want based off of the information that we pulled. All right, with this report screen, I'm going to jump back to this really quick just to kind of close this loop. You can see here's our total throughput of the entire application, where we can see which applications are really consuming the most time and saving us the most effort. All right, so with that, let's go back to the dashboard and kind of wrap it all up. So again, here's our dashboard, and I kind of wanted to talk and say that it's important to take a look at this entire value stream because this does allow us to identify all the different pieces as far as building our software goes. We can even take in additional tools, take in custom icons and drop them in here, draw additional lines, put additional boxes. Each of these boxes is configurable, they're modifiable. We can drag them, stretch them however we want, draw all the lines we want, even if we're not integrating those particular tools. So a lot of power here in actually visualizing your entire end-to-end. We can even say, our HR tool, let's bring that in here too. Even if we're not going to integrate it, that's still an important part of our process. So just to kind of recap again, we've got our entire end-to-end with a mix of vendor-specific adapters and universal adapters, and that's allowed us to really get this big picture, so we can kind of see, identify all the different pieces in our value stream. With that, we'll go ahead and pause, and I'll stop sharing, and we'll go back to Andrew, and we'll take any questions that you have.
Cool. Thanks, Jonathan. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So we have some questions, and you're going to think, or the audience is going to think these are planned, or planted in the audience, canned questions. I guarantee you that these, you're going to think these first two are. So, but they're not. It's a real question. So the first question is, this is very, very interesting. I mean, really, you can't ask for a better question than that. This is very, very interesting. Can ConnectALL integrate a tool like Scope Master for the requirements work? Two companies in Dayton, Ohio are using Scope Master. I know enough about Scope Master to know that they've got a REST interface, and I'm pretty confident that, yeah, we could probably integrate with that. Not done it, not tried it. And if there's any gap in our universal adapter, it'll be on our roadmap in high priority. Jonathan, do you have anything to add either about Scope Master or your experience integrating with the universal adapter?
No, so I would actually say that's actually the beauty of all this in the universal adapter, and why I get so excited about it is because we can answer questions like that, and you don't have to wait 6 months for us to develop our Scope Master adapter. We can if you really want us to, but we can use the universal adapter, research the REST APIs, say, yeah, this is possible, and then you can do it just like that. And thousands of tools, even the ones that don't exist yet, are potential candidates for that universal adapter.
Okay, thanks for that color. The next question, I promise it's not a plant. Nice. We frequently use Salesforce. It's more of a comment than a question, but absolutely, we support that. So thanks for that that feedback as well. Okay, the next question is, do developers have to go into ConnectALL for any reason?
No, they don't, unless they are the assigned administrator. Typically, you would have one person administering ConnectALL with input from their different stakeholders, and then that one person goes in and sets up the integration. The developers don't have to trigger anything themselves. They just do their work, and ConnectALL kind of does the rest.
Okay, next one is, who typically sets up ConnectALL?
It could be anybody. So it typically, like I said, there's generally one person who's assigned. It could be somebody from your development team. It could be a business analyst. It could be a tools administrator or a system administrator. It is designed to be point and click and easy enough for just about anybody to understand and set up.
But often there will be somebody maybe in operations or tools group sets it up, but sets up all the integrations, and then it just operates in the background.
That's right.
So one more, if I am in whatever tool, how can I tell if some defect came over from some other tool?
So that's actually pretty common. A lot of our customers want to see that traceability between the different tools. And it's not a required thing to do this, but again, a lot of people like to do it, is they'll typically create custom fields for those to hold those IDs. So if I'm working in Micro Focus ALM and I want to integrate those defects with Jira bugs, what I'll commonly do is add a custom field in there that holds the Jira ID. And so after ConnectALL creates that Jira bug, it'll send the ID back into that custom field. And then you've got visibility into, yes, this thing is working between different systems.
We can also synchronize URLs. I was reading the next question, so I'm not sure if you mentioned that, but we could synchronize the URL. So in one tool, you have a URL that goes straight to the other tool. Did you already see that? Sorry.
I did not, but that's a good point.
Reading the next question, how long does it take for a change in one tool to show up in the other? Is it immediate?
So that's configurable. It is typically once a minute, but it really kind of depends on what your flow is. Again, we can apply governance to our application links to really do it how often you want. If your requirements process is set up so that once requirements are set, they never change, then maybe you only need to synchronize once a day. Okay, maybe you only need to synchronize once every couple hours. That doesn't really have any impact on ConnectALL itself. It's just really how often you want it to sync. But typically most people will do 1 minute or so.
Okay, great. So thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate you fielding those questions. I also thanks everyone who joined us today in the webinar or who's watching the recording. Again, I would encourage you to share that recording with your teammates and colleagues and others. And if you have any further questions, you can write to us at sales@connectall.com. And you can check out our website or search here in Bright Talk for more interesting webinars. That's all we have for today. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.